You can see my slides. That's wonderful. Yeah, Dan, thank you so much for giving this really high-level vision overview. What my mission is, I want to first have my microphone working, perfect, and then I want to go. So we spend 1 hour together, and for now, later we talk about the breakout sessions as well. But I want to give you guys a first overview of what have we done after we acquired Talend, and for example IP from Keynote and all these things. So of course I'll start as well just to pick it up again, because this is something what you will see today a couple of times. The structure, how we think the data supply chain look like. And for the first part, I want to focus on the data side, on the data integration side. What we want to achieve here is we want to move data in real time, we want to change data capture, and want to transform our data. But typically that has some challenges which come with it, right? So maybe you have a data team, a data engineering team with various skill sets. Some can write SQL code, others can write a Qlik script. And others are maybe on the business side, very, very good, but not on the coding side. So, and the question is really, how do I bring all these different various skill sets together? And that's what we are talking about in the first couple of minutes. And I've brought my friend with me here, so he looks very happy, but actually inside he's a little confused as well, because he is the data engineer who has to deliver data to the business, and the requirements are changing all the time. And you see his whiteboard there; it's kind of messy, and so we are really are now him, the data engineer. And I think with that we can jump into the first demo already. So bear with me for a sec as I transition to my demo. So where we are here is in a pipeline. So that runs, basically it creates SQL code and executes it on Snowflake. And but what we can do here is we can bring various data sources in here. So we can go here and have here our connections. And so what we have done here is we've brought from Talend, we brought Stitch in, so lots of connectors are here. No matter if it's a database client managed on-premise, or it's a cloud source or whatever, it is very, very easy to connect all sorts of data sets here. So that's the the first step, which makes the data engineer's life a little easier in the end. And of course, this pipeline leverages change data capture, so we deliver data in real time. But what we also can do in this pipeline, we can obviously also transform data, right? Because we need to make it analytics ready. So we can go in here in our transform task. And the first thing what we see here is our source data sets, our target data sets, and we see here down here the first major milestone from the acquisition from Talend, and that's the transformation flow. So I have one prepared here. And this is really people who are familiar with Pipeline Designer from Talend. It's basically that, and we've integrated it here in the Qlik cloud already. So when you're not super SQL-ly proficient, you can go in here and really see and build in a graphical user interface this whole data pipeline, right? So we can go here. We see for example a join here, what we've done. And we can really open this a little up and have here some configurations about that. And maybe within the process, I obviously want to show, okay, so what have I done so far? So I could just go here, hit data preview and see where I am right now. But maybe I am an engineer, right? So maybe I want to have really my hands in it. So what I can also do is just look at this time at the SQL code being generated for me. So I could validate this now if I'm SQL savvy, and I could validate it and say, hey, okay, that's good in the end. Looks good. So we can close this up here. And that's the first way how we can manipulate data, right? Another way is maybe let's build another transformation. So what we could do here is like we have SAP data here I'm German, but so here's like very cryptic names, as all of you probably know. But we can do something with that, yeah. So don't worry, you don't need to be German or something like that. We'll just like leverage generative AI for this. But yeah, let's take our ECPO data, Mara, and maybe our MART, and let's add a SQL transformation. Let's give it a little name here, like inventory management data, and add this thing here, like the SQL transformation. And now I could basically write my own SQL code, but I don't want to. So what I leverage is our SQL assistant, which is powered by AWS Bedrock as well in the background. And what we can do here is I can essentially prompt like my SQL code. Yeah. So what I can do here is I just paste in my my prompt real quick. So we want to generate a data set of raw materials, only including the material numbers, base unit, different stock, and so on and so forth. Essentially, we can use natural language to kind of like define this, right? And two major points here. When I let the GenAI generate this code, it knows my metadata as well from the pipeline, right? So it knows, okay, it's Snowflake SQL in the end, and knows obviously also the source data and all these things. And if I let this generate my SQL code, it really goes a little further because it has general knowledge as well about like SAP kind of like cryptic codes, and can translate this into into natural language which everyone can understand who speaks English. And I mean, that's amazing. I think there's lots of people who have to deal with these SAP data which will be very happy about this. And of course, like we see here, it's like the right syntax and all these things, so we can extract the parameters from here and have maybe like a deeper look at the data and see here. So that looks all good to me. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So let's just enter this. Say okay. So what have we done so far? So in the end, we showed like multiple different ways how we can write a data pipeline, right? So maybe let's go here in the model overview and have a deeper understanding of our data pipeline, and that looks good to me. So we see really like here some sort of data model, and so with also in a graphical user interface, so I know where I am and all these things. But yeah, so that's one part, but of course that's not the only part, right? Like Dan mentioned it, so we want to bring like, or like as a customer, as a data engineer, I want to bring my contextual data to the AI system, right? So and how we can do this is with our AI-ready data sets, right? So we have like here a new kind of like operator, which we kind of like developed in the last months. And what this enables me is I can basically get my structured data, and I can put the structured data into like a vector store in the end, and can leverage like all these like nice benefits from my data pipeline. I see it's a little, yeah, that's better. So yeah, what I can do here is essentially deliver my structured data to GenAI, right? And this GenAI can pick this data up and answer questions better based on your data. So how does that look like though? So what we create here is like a JSON payload essentially, yeah, so a JSON kind of object which then can be stored in a vector store, right? So. And here, like Dan mentioned it as well, so like all this like tech landscape, databases that are evolving as well. So right here we run on like Elasticsearch. We have an LLM connected here from OpenAI, but I could also leverage Pinecone here, Snowflake Cortex, Neo4j, or also soon Qlik Answers as well. Yeah. So and that will be like a real game changer, as we can then bring really like structured data to your vector stores and make it accessible in the end. Yeah. So I think that is the first kind of like demo I wanted to show. So let me jump back into my slide again. Yeah, so what have we seen so far? So we have leveraged like our Qlik Talend cloud, right? So the part where we can run best-in-class change data capture technology, and and in the end, really deliver your structured data to vector stores where we can pick it up for AI and generative AI and all these things. But now maybe Dan mentioned as well what's super important, and that's the next part. It's we want to enhance our data quality, and especially for AI. So what maybe folks know that, right? Like we had like the trust score, which is IP essentially from Talend, and but we have enhanced this and adjusted this for AI as well, right? And trust score, what is that for people who don't know it? We have like certain dimensions, right? Kind of like factors like which describe data quality. We have here the diversity, security, timeliness, consumability, accuracy, discoverability. But essentially what this is, it's like dimensions and measures to guarantee or to kind of like give you an indicator how the data quality is looking like in your data sets. And now that as well for AI. So maybe let's jump into the next demo and see how that actually can look like within the Qlik Talend cloud. So bear with me for a second. One second. Oh, one thing I actually like missed out was like one thing. Maybe let me round this up here, and maybe let's jump a little bit back to the point where we want to deliver data to our vector stores. And that's an important part, actually. While I build this, I want to obviously like validate and check: is my data correctly there? Does it really like bring its value? So that is what I can do here. So I can actually chat with my data here, and can just validate. So has the delivery to Universal Studios, for example, has it been shipped? Yes, we can say yes here, and it has been shipped. But maybe I want to have it like a little more summarized, so I could also do that here, and do that. So we get a little summarization with a customer ID. So it really has like all this data in here. Yeah. So and so now we go back to the data project, and now we can basically jump to this part from the Talend Studio with a trust score for AI. Yeah. So, and one thing we have here is like a kind of like ETL pipeline in the all new Talend Studio, and as we can see here, we get data in from Kafka. What we want to do here is like we want to work with customer claims. Yeah, so we have like some email information here as well. So what we need to do is like we need to verify these emails, do the validation. And in the end, what we want to do as well is we want to kind of like prevent that any personal identifiable data is there. So what we want to do is like a PII masking. And so we see a last name, first name, and email. And once we've done that, what we want to do is like we want to leverage like generative AI to kind of classify our claim, right? So we want to know, is it like a delivery problem? Is it a technical problem? Or is it just like dissatisfaction with a product or something like that? And we can do this right here in our data pipeline, right? So this really augments our data. And when we let this run, we see here our email, which got masked. Yeah, so it's just like gibberish here. No one can read it anymore, so that's all good. We can see our claim here, which looks good as well. And we see the classification. So apparently, like here, we had like a delivery problem in here. Yeah. And so that's good. But now I really want to build like kind of like our trust score for AI as well. And what I can do is I can just go here to my joblets and have this pre-built process essentially, which I can just drag and drop here. And what this does is, as I said, a pre-built kind of like process which identifies all these like different dimensions for data quality. So it's basically like a plug-and-play thing, and I can leverage this now in a in a Qlik Sense dashboard as well, right? So, and that's what I've done here. And basically, it's a data mart I can just leverage, right? So, and maybe we have here like all our dimensions, which describe the data quality for AI. And maybe I see here in the security, there's like a really like kind of like a dip here in this chart. So maybe I want to dig a little deeper here. And I mean, what we just did was like we masked PII information. So that might be a little confusing, but I mean, if our trust score for AI lets us know that there's a problem, maybe we have something like in the claim itself which exposes PII data, right? So that I would never be able to kind of like see that or track this somehow. But with the trust score for AI, I can do that. Yeah. So yeah, and I think that really shows beautifully how we can leverage this trust score to kind of like have better data quality for, especially for AI. Yeah. So so far so good. One other thing I want to speak about is this part of, okay, we kind of like, okay, now we have built a data pipeline and all that stuff, and that's all good. That's all good. But in the end, we have to kind of like bridge our data. Yeah. So not in a bridge way, but like we have to deliver it to the business. And so that is one part which is a big challenge. Yeah. So, but what we've done here is we have to kind of like think this way, right? So like we want to have ownership, we want to have people reuse it, the data, and we really want to. Can someone hear me? Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah, so what we've done is like we've built like a data product and marketplace capability which really enables you in the Qlik Cloud to kind of like all define like highly curated data sets, and in the end also to kind of like make them reusable, get them really in the flow and into business. Some problem or yeah? It's always we with the technical problems. It's like I don't know. Bear with me for one. Yeah, perfect. Test. Yeah, great, good. Yeah. So what I wanted to show now is just like a very cool way to kind of like bring data to the business, and it really goes a little bit into this data mesh direction and all this stuff. But let's not keep talking about it. Let's just like jump in and have a look how that looks like. So bear with me. I got to jump again. So yeah. So where we are here, essentially, is this data marketplace you find in the Qlik Talend Cloud, and we are here in a manager kind of like view. So we see here there's some stuff prepared, some curated data sets and all these things, and data products. But what we want to do is maybe like have an overview about, okay, how can that actually work? How can I create something here? So what we can do is like we can just hit the create new button. And maybe we want to do it like something for logistics and shipping, you know, so where we have like a clear kind of like supply chain management owner or something. And yeah, just continue here and create this. And in the end, now like we're in a kind of like empty data product. We see some metadata about that. And but let's like kind of like put some data sets in it. Like let's fill it with some content as well. And I'm gonna just like have a little like oil in the machine, right? So I keep going. Yeah, so let's maybe browse some data sets which we've propagated with our Qlik Talend Cloud. And so maybe let's take like here the customers, maybe the deliveries, the shippers maybe, and like some dimensions as well. Looks good to me. And yeah, the first thing what we see here is like, okay, we have our data set selected. We see like our quality indicators here, and maybe there's something looking a little bit off. So we can have a look at that later. But first thing what we want to do is I want to create a little bit of documentation to the data product, right? So we spoke about ownership. So what I can do as well is basically select here my colleague, who is maybe like a data product manager, can add that. And yeah, so now I really made sure that like a person is really responsible for this stuff, and I don't just like, yeah, you know, like create an Excel file and throw it over the fence, right? So that's really really helpful. So let's save this. And now I mentioned as well that we have like here some issues. So let us dig a little deeper here. I have this trust score here, right? So I see here there's some like invalid values, some empty values. So, yeah, and I see like an overall validity and all these things. But what we could do here is like we could dig a little deeper. So let's go in the data preview, have an overview here about the data, scroll a little bit to the right to see really like, okay, what's our problem here, right? So, and we see that the postal code, it looks like it's like classified as French postal codes, and there's like some postal codes which are not meeting the requirement, and that's fine. So maybe we can open this up. See here like yeah, configurations about this certain column. I also see in the country same thing essentially, and I could now like basically go in here and yeah, do another analysis even further, yeah, but I first get really like while using this data, I see, okay, what's going on with the data, and I can like really target maybe the owner of the data set, and yeah, talk about these things. So one thing I want to do then is it's not only about, okay, I have here my data and the data is in this quality and all these things, but what I also want to know is I want to know where does my data come from, right? And that's a lineage kind of like perspective which we also have to cover here. And so what we can do is we can really understand better where's this data coming from, right? So I see here I have some web data from Shopify, maybe our e-commerce platform. I see some cloud data pipeline from Azure SQL, which streams data in real time as well, right? So, and yeah, and that really gives me the full picture. I know where's the data coming from. I see how good is the data quality. I know who's responsible, who can I reach out to as well. And yeah, these are all like the important kind of things which I have to consider while deploying data sets to the business. So let's activate this. That looks good. We can kind of like put this in a managed space as well. Let's put that here. Maybe we have to give a certain tag. Maybe that's like data for APAC, and we are good to go. So yeah, so that's the first thing we did now. Like basically we we created data product with responsibility, with ownership, and yeah, with full lineage and all these things. And maybe we can go back to the marketplace. And the next thing what we want to do is maybe switch to the consumer perspective. And yeah, what we want to do now is go in our logistics and shipping product, and the next logical step would be, for example, like the data analyst who picks this up, right, and creates like a powerful Qlik Sense application on top of it. So that's what we can do here as well, directly out of the data product. We do the logistics and shipping name here, and hit next. And yeah, load it into an app, and yeah, there we go, right? So that's how easy it can be. And yeah, so maybe let's jump into the next part of the demo on the analytics side. So bear with me as I share my screen. Yeah, that works. Lovely. Yeah, so where we have been so far, we were basically on the complete kind of like left side here, right? We created trust, we moved, we transformed data, and we made it accessible as well, right? So what we want to do now is we want to yeah, do analytics, right? So we want to focus on really like accessing the data, analyzing it, and leverage AI in the end to kind of like enhance data, augment data, and drive insights. And on top of that, yeah, driving action, right? That's the overall goal. So let us have a little look into how we can actually, or what kind of happened in terms of how we create analytics, right? How we create visualizations and all these things. And there are also lots of things that has been done there. So let's jump directly into the next kind of like demo. So yeah, so we, maybe I need to kind of like refresh my page here. Bear with me for a sec. Yeah, there we go. That should be fine. Yeah, so yeah, exactly what we've done before, right? Like we go in here, and I don't want to build like a Qlik Sense app from scratch, right? So like a good like kind of like TV chef, right? Like we've prepared something, so let's create this here real quick, and jump in our Qlik Sense app, well, which is prepared. And so one thing what we want to do here is we want to highlight our advancements which happened in designing a dashboard, right? So, I mean, we do this for since the last 30 years, so you could imagine, hey, by now we're done, but no, actually we're not done. So we bring still like new capabilities to Qlik Sense. And one thing I want to highlight here is like I call it kind of like Photoshop for analytics dashboards, because this is our layout container. And this layout container you see here is one object, but inside this object is actually multiple objects which I can basically do pixel perfect and lay it over other things, other objects and stuff like this. So can do really, really cool stuff with that. Same thing, what I can do here as well is I can jump also here in my sidebar. And this is also like a layout container in the end, right? But it has buttons in there with like actions behind it. And so I can really like build like a really like web page, kind of like a menu, can go through here and yeah, really can design like beautiful dashboards and do it pixel perfect. So once we're done with that, what we want to do, or what we may want to do, is like really leverage AI to enhance our pretty much descriptive kind of dashboard. So maybe we want to create like a trend with a forecast. So we can just like drag and drop it over here. We can replace this, choose our dimensions. In this case, maybe the order date, and maybe what we want to do is here, we want to identify or analyze further like canceled orders. Yeah, so we can do that here. And but maybe that's a little broad. So maybe why don't we just adjust the forecast steps a little bit? And yeah, see, like now we got a way better kind of like forecast. But this is really like now, you know, I have like spent so much time on designing this whole app, and but now this is like all white and yeah, not really super beautiful. So what we can do is instead of now like going into the CSS and writing the code and all these things or adjust this, we can just go here, copy the style, and and paste the style, right? So it can be that easy, really, like we would do in Word, PowerPoint, or something like that, right? And yeah, so I think that shows pretty much what we brought to the table in Qlik Sense. And the next part I want to talk about, and that is also something like Dan mentioned before, like this need of really evolving in our roles, right? And that is really about, okay, you saw this dashboard and it was still beautiful, all good, yeah, but it was really purely kind of like descriptive, right? We could like implement a little bit of a trend there, but what we need to do is really act in the moment and generate like machine learning models and kind of like use these in our dashboards as well. So Dan mentioned it. We have for a couple of years now, AutoML integrated into the platform, and yeah, it really enables us to kind of like, also as a data analyst who's not like a coding kind of person, to create their own machine learning models and embed that wherever they want it, right? Whether it's a Qlik Sense app or it's a third-party application where you need predictions. Yeah, so now without further ado, let's just jump in there directly again. So you guys see, like, I'm just jumping back in front, but it should be good. So I hope this is like for everyone. Everyone can see this clear. So where we are here is like basically like an AutoML experiment, right? So this is like essentially the step where you need to select like a target, right? And then you can run like all these algorithms to kind of like train a model. And but one thing which was missing here is like we always so we needed a training data set, right? So, and as you guys know, like we are listening to feedback, so it was always like a little bit cumbersome to create a training data set. So what we've done now here in the analytics field as well is maybe we can take our data set here which we just saw before, and what we can do now is we have like also in the analytics side a kind of like data flow, so a graphical way to create it create transformations, manipulate data, and yeah, so it's basically the same design like we had before. And that's all good, but what we want to do here maybe is we want to have a look what works or what's happening under the hood, right? So, and here we actually, maybe some people notice already the colors. We don't create SQL code here, but we create actually like Qlik Sense scripting code, yeah, and execute this just as we would do in a Qlik script. Yeah, so that's also like making it more easy to kind of like generate a training data set. So I used this flow, created a training data set, but now let's jump back like to AutoML and have a look here. So the first thing what we have to do is we have to select our target. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to identify whether like a product which is shipped, like if it will be delivered late or not, right? So that's essentially like our task, what we want to do here. And yeah, looks good for me. So let's go ahead and let's run the experiment. And yeah, so first thing we see here, we see like AutoML trained all these like different models here on the left side. We have like a little summary here, which also actually helps us to create a model because yeah, there's certain things like high correlation or like low feature importance, which make some columns maybe not be good for our model, and AutoML identifies that and drops them or takes action accordingly. Yeah, so this is something which really levels up this whole kind of experience. So we have, as people who know this already, there's nothing new, right? We have the feature importance here, all sort of metrics we need to analyze further. But one thing which is totally new as well is we have brought now our Qlik Sense analysis experience into the experiment as well, right? So because what you have to do typically, if you train a model, you need to analyze further. You need to go ahead and see, hey, what can I do here? How can I compare that? How can I actually create a good model, right? So I have here, like as I have in Qlik Sense, I have like my filters. I can filter through here, and yeah, have like also like associative engine here and all these like nice gimmicks. Why we all love Qlik. But this is like just like a tab to kind of like compare models with each other, but maybe we want to analyze actually and want to understand, okay, what is actually driving our late deliveries, yeah? And on the right side here, we see the feature importance. So we see the transport partner, product demand are driving this this kind of like prediction. So maybe let's understand this a little further and drill a little down here, right? So confirm the selection, and on top of just identifying, okay, what is driving, so what kind of like column is driving our prediction, we can also go ahead and see, okay, what value is driving that, right? So within our transport partners, we see, for example, Swift Wing Transport, which is like majorly impacting our late deliveries, and yeah, and that is like a first insight I get just right off the bat while using AutoML. I could now like also analyze further, go in here and maybe have like a look at the weather severity. And if I think about it, it makes sense, right? Like if we have like way worse weather, like bad weather, it might actually influence this kind of deliveries, right? And yeah, so that is how easy it can be, right? Like we have done like a couple of clicks, prepared a training data set, and we get like lots of insights, understand better, okay, how our transport partners are doing, who's maybe like a black sheep in there where I have to have a conversation. And yeah, that's kind of all like these beautiful things. The next thing I want to talk about is let's assume, like there's like lots of business people who are kind of like who have to deal with your dashboards, right? So like a manager, someone who is probably not as data literate as most folks here. So how are they experiencing Qlik, and what can we do for them? How can they leverage AI, generative AI, to have a better kind of like experience while interacting with the data? Yeah. So, and that is like, now I'm pretending to be a manager, yeah, like someone who is not as data literate. So let's jump back directly into our demo. And we're in the Qlik Cloud Hub, yeah. And see here, okay, I have like different like assets which I marked as my favorite, and but what I want to do is maybe I just wake up in the morning and I have a question, right? So I could go like to the Insight Advisor and could ask, okay, how many of our open orders are going to be late? I could send this off, and Insight Advisor would basically analyze all the applications which are enabled for the Insight Advisor, and would search through there and see, okay, is there anything what could answer that question? Yeah. So, and we see here predicted late by product name would actually kind of like answer this question. So I see our smart fridge and a robot vacuum, and get also a like a real like kind of like summarization in natural language. So without me having to build anything, I just get insight just like that, right? So that's fine. But maybe people who are in the cloud already noticed we had a major kind of like UI change in terms of navigation. Yeah. So, and I love it personally. So what we can do here now is just like we have this kind of like waffle menu here, and we can basically transition seamlessly between like data integration, analytics, and and have like this new create page, and this new create page is amazing because like there might be people who are not familiar with all these like different assets and stuff like this. So maybe they want to learn a little more, for example, about how to leverage AutoML. They can go in here, learn more, and they have directly like a guide and stuff like this to kind of get their head around what they would need to do there. Yeah. And one thing which was always kind of like a topic was like, hey, we had the data the catalog, right? Like to kind of like get your head around these assets. And now what we have integrated, it's really a minor thing, but it's like greatly enhancing the user experience. We have this recent tab now where I can basically jump back and forth between my last recently used objects, like a Qlik Sense app, a data project, or something like that. And so I think that is really, really giving lots of things here. Could also jump essentially can jump like back and forth here and have like everything like in a very like easy manner and easy access. Yeah. So But for now, so what I would like to do is really show how we can leverage like generative AI inside of a Qlik Sense app. Yeah, and what we have here is we have like Amazon Bedrock connector. Yeah, so essentially large language models which are hosted in maybe your AWS tenant or your Azure tenant, or and we can kind of like connect our Qlik Sense app and the data which is inside the Qlik Sense app, and use that for kind of like natural language interaction. So we have here like maybe we want to ask like, okay, why are so many of our orders like late? And what we can do is like really on the fly, we get like an explanation from the large language model which has like the data from the Qlik Sense app, and but maybe, so on the left side here I have like average sales versus late delivery by product, and I notice there's like a couple of products with like high sales which are like predicted to be delivered late. So maybe we kind of like select them, and when we do that, this connector is basically also interacting then in real time, and gives you then like a breakdown for just these products which you're interested in. Yeah, and that is really cool. Yeah, so that is really cool. Brings a lot to the table. So people who are not as data literate, they can basically just explore the data in natural language. Yeah. So speaking about like predicting what deliveries which are late. We can have a look at our like smart products here and our smart fridge, for example. And what we want to do here maybe is analyze a little further this smart fridge, right? Like what's happening here. And what we have here is we have like run like predictive scenarios. So what we can do is we can basically connect our machine learning models to the Qlik Sense app and and manipulate the data in the front end, right? So for example, what if all selected orders had like a little more additional inventory, or what about like maybe transitioning the transport partner, and on the fly, I would get like new predictions without having to know, okay, this is an AutoML model, this is like how it works and all these things. So it really, as a user, I can run scenarios and identify, like statistically speaking, what would change if I would adjust my action, right? And and we can visualize that as well. So here, like we have like one visualization, which is like maybe in the beginning a little bit confusing, but I really love it because it runs basically all these like different scenarios and shows me what would be the best kind of like transport partner and what would be the best inventory, right? So. And that really gives me like lots of flexibility, and really enhances really my data sets, augments it with predictive AI, and really helps me to not only look descriptive at my data, but also look into the future and identify what I could change in order to drive more value, right? So, I think then we can jump to the last kind of like point, which is like Qlik answers, right? We'll hear a lot about this today. But now it will be like very much like high level. So bear with me for a second as I transition again to my slides. We heard it from Dan. So lots of data is unstructured, right? And we are not realizing value from it. Yeah. So. In our case, at Qlik, Sales AI, for example, what Dan mentioned, shows us, of course, like how easy it can be to kind of like interact with your unstructured data. And I know as well, that is like just a personal experience. Like beforehand, like, like some sales reps, they were reaching out, hey, how does this work again? Or how is this license looking like? Or what's this competitor look like? And that really changed a lot, yeah. So now I don't get, hey, this is the question, but I get, hey, I had this question and Sales AI told me this. Is this still up to date, or is there anything new, right? So it enhances a lot, like the way we work. So Qlik answers, and that's really the part which the last part before I hand over to the next speaker. we want to understand how this works. Yeah, so let's jump in there into the last demo. Bear with me, and yeah. So here I have like a mashup, and what I have down here is like this queue, like old people probably still know it from Word, like Carl, like this little I don't know the English word, Klammer. What is that the correct word? I don't know. But this little agent which essentially helps you if you have questions, right? So, and maybe let's assume like I'm like a, I don't know, customer service agent, an account manager, and I sell products and all these things, and I have customers, and I have to take care of the customers, and maybe there's a customer reaching out to me with like issues that one kind of like customer or transport partner had. So maybe tell me about more like of all of the issues about home tech that it has faced like with late deliveries. And the beauty about here is I don't have to go to my SharePoint page or to my Confluence page and eventually find something which could kind of help me to answer this question. I can leverage Qlik Answers, like have my question in here, and I get a personalized, relevant answer. And the most important part here is Qlik Answers only answers if it has some knowledge to answer this, right? So we see here like these two sources. And I can validate that here, yeah. So I have like different customer support called log files, which I have in here, and Qlik Answers can pick that up and answer the question. So it tells me, hey, here had late deliveries with smart fridges and smart TVs, and yeah, it could go through there here, like what's the cause of that and stuff like this. But one thing I wanted to just highlight briefly is how do we actually bring like our unstructured data files, like PDFs, like Word documents, and so on and so forth. How do we bring this to the AI? And that is a part which requires like really technical heavy lifting because you need to leverage lots of software libraries to kind of like do that. You need to first of all like do some sort of OCR where you identify the text from PDF files or Markdown files. And that's not enough. Then you still need to do some processing and all these things. And that is like what we do here with like index all sources, right? So in the end, it's like a couple of clicks how you can create like a knowledge base. You put like your files in here, like whether it's through a data connection or it's like you just upload it or whatever. And all this like technical heavy lifting happens for us with essentially clicking one button, right? So we can go here, have the add files, and maybe we want to kind of like browse and upload something. Yeah, so maybe let's take this like supply chain report here. Let me put that here. So and let us just like index that real quick. And yeah, once we've done this, so we have added now like some general knowledge about supply chain and how we can overcome challenges within our supply chain and all these things. And maybe I want to come back now and say, okay, what are the reasons for the late delivery of smart products, and what actions are we taking to address these issues? Yeah, so now like I'm really asking like a question which is like requiring like certain knowledge about, okay, what are smart products and what is special about them and all these things. And as I had like a kind of like indexed new data, I get a really good rundown here of this question and get like more insights. Yeah, so. Overall, like we'll hear later about this like way more. So I have like a breakout session for Qlik Answers. I know like one of the partners, like Przemek, has something as well about Qlik Answers with Polish data as well. And yeah, so maybe let me sum it up a little bit. Yeah. So what we've seen so far, and I don't want to steal too much time for the next speaker. Yeah. We, in the end, like Qlik built like a whole kind of like data platform, which really takes care of the whole data supply chain, right? From your source data, and it really doesn't matter anymore like what kind of like source data you have. With our data connections, we can basically move any data to any target, right? And we do this at speed, with change data capture technology. We propagate these data sets to our data products, and the business can easily kind of like consume this data, enrich it with AI, with predictive AI, with generative AI, and act upon it. So, I think with that we are done. So thank you for your time, and see you in the next breakout session.